They said she wouldn't recognize me. No one expected her to say anything at all, not after everything. Not after the seizures. Not after her brain stopped responding for 11 minutes. But when I walked into that room, her eyes fluttered open, and she whispered, "Doctor, what do you do when a ghost speaks your name?" Was it gratitude, fear, a cry for help? Because it didn't feel like a miracle, it felt like a trap, and I was already caught in it. How do you explain to the board that the patient who just woke up was never supposed to be in that room? How do you tell a grieving father that the daughter he just identified in the morgue is still alive, breathing, and speaking my name? Number. This isn't a miracle, it's a mistake, a deadly one. I need to go back. To 3 weeks ago, to the night she flatlined on my table, because someone pulled her off life support. And it wasn't me. And now, she's asking for me. By name. As if she remembers what I did. As if she saw everything. But how is that possible? The brain can't record pain when it's clinically dead, right? Then why do her eyes look like they've seen hell? My name is Dr. Elias Grant. And I need you to hear this story. Because if I disappear, you'll know why. She was dead. Until she wasn't. And the worst part? I think she came back for me. I remember the exact pressure of the pen in my hand, the way the fluorescent light flickered above the charting desk, the silence of the ICU after 3 a.m. You don't forget the moment you declare someone dead, especially when you're wrong. I signed the death certificate myself. Name, Madeline Rose Carter. Age, 19. Time of death, 3:14 a.m. Cause, hypoxic brain injury, secondary to status epilepticus. And I sealed it, stamped it, moved on, or at least I tried to. The code blue had lasted 17 minutes. We brought her back twice. Her pupils were fixed. No reflexes. EEG showed flatline. Everything screamed, "Let her go." And her father, God help him. He was the one who finally nodded. Eyes red, hands shaking. "She wouldn't want this," he whispered. She told me, "No machines." And I agreed, not because I was cold, not because I wanted her gone, but because I believed she already was. I watched them disconnect the ventilator, watched the color drain, watched the final stillness set in. And then, I walked away. I went home, tried to sleep, failed. I told myself I did the right thing. But in the back of my head something itched. A tension I couldn't name. Something in her eyes, maybe. Something that didn't quite look finished. The body was transferred to cold storage that morning. Standard protocol. Autopsy was waived. Family refused. She was a DNR. Paperwork was clean. Except, that evening, I came back for my shift. And the nurse on rotation looked pale as a sheet. "Dr. Grant," she said, "there's something you need to see." She didn't look at me when she said it. She just walked, fast, to room 318, Madeline's room. The bed was made, the monitors were off, but someone was sitting in the corner, slouched, bare feet dangling, fourth line still taped to her wrist. I stepped inside. The air was cold, too cold, smelled like antiseptic and something metallic. She turned her head slowly, eyes open, bloodshot, wide, alive, and then she spoke. "Doctor?" Just that. A whisper, but not confused, not slurred, clear, deliberate. And for one horrifying second, I felt like I was the one who had died. She shouldn't have been there. She was dead. I signed the certificate. I witnessed the death. Yet, she looked at me like she remembered. Not just my name, but what I said, what I did. As if she had heard it all. I backed out of the room. I couldn't breathe. My ears were ringing. I turned to the nurse. "Who moved her?" I asked. She blinked. "Moved who?" I pointed to the door behind me. She looked in, frowned, tilted her head. "There's no one in there." I ran back in. The chair was empty, 4 on the ground, still warm. Her chart was gone, no record, no transfer, nothing. It was like she had never existed, except, in my hand, was the death certificate, with my name on it, my signature, my mistake. Do you understand now? This isn't just about a girl who came back, it's about me. Because if she's alive, then what did I let die, and what does she want now? I don't scare easily, but that night, something in me fractured. I locked myself in my office, closed the blinds, turned off the lights. I needed silence, darkness. I needed to be alone with the impossible. Was I hallucinating? Sleep deprived? Had I finally broken? But then I saw it. On my desk, a manila folder, labeled in red. Carter, Madeline R., expired. Expired. I hadn't left that there. I didn't even bring the file with me that shift. And yet, there it was. Heavy, real, stained with something dark near the corner. Everything was as I remembered. Vitals, EEG, notes from the night of the code. Until I reached the last page. It was new, stamped just hours ago. Readmitted, status, stable, under observation, isolation wing. What the hell? I didn't approve a readmit. There was no ICU bed assigned, no attending physician. And the worst part? The signature at the bottom. It was mine, except I never signed that. I stared at my own name, perfectly forged. Same loop on the G, same pressure on the E. Whoever did this knew how I write, how I move. I rushed to the terminal, pulled up the hospital system. Madeline Carter. Patient ID 42,977. Access denied. Access restricted. Level 6 clearance required. Level 6? That's reserved for military-grade cases. Biohazard, psych lockdowns, not a teenage girl with epilepsy. I went deeper. Used the admin back door. I wasn't supposed to, but I had no choice. When the screen unlocked, I found something else. Something worse. Madeline's file had 2 death certificates. One from me, one from someone else. Different dates, different times, but same patient. How does someone die twice? There was a knock at my office, 3 short taps, then nothing. I didn't answer. I watched the shadow under the door, still, unmoving. Then it bent, as if someone lowered themselves to the ground, like they were watching me. I turned the lights back on, opened the door, fast. The hall was empty, except for one thing, taped to the wall across from my office, her bracelet. Hospital ID, still stained with blood from the IV insertion. I held it in my hand for what felt like hours. It was warm, too warm. And on the back, in faded pen, she remembers. Do you? Who else knows? Who forged my signature? Why is she in the isolation wing? And most of all, what the hell happened the night I declared her dead? Because if she came back, I'm not sure what came back with her. You know that sound your phone makes when you get a hospital alert? That sterile, high-pitched tone? It used to mean life. Now, it makes my skin crawl. That morning, I got one. Patient inquiry request, level 3. At first, I didn't think much of it, just another family asking about a loved one. But when I opened the request file, I dropped my coffee. It was a name I'd already buried. Madeline Rose Carter. Submitted by Ava Carter. Identified as twin sibling. Twin? I don't remember any mention of a sister. Not in the father's report, not in her chart, not in any conversation we had during the resuscitation. I pulled up Madeline's record again, still locked, still level 6. So I did something I wasn't proud of. I used a login that didn't belong to me. I typed in Ava Carter's name, same last name, same birthday, and there she was, alive, active, living 2 states away. But what chilled me was the attached medical photo. It was her. The same face, same eyes, same scar above the eyebrow. Except Ava had never been admitted to this hospital, and according to her file, she had a history of night terrors, recurring hallucinations, paranoia, and a documented belief that her sister was still alive, except Madeline is alive somewhere in the basement, locked in isolation. So why is Ava's chart marked as delusional? I called the number listed. "Hello?" A soft voice, calm, cautious. "Hi," I said. "This is Dr. Elias Grant from Riverpoint Medical. I'm looking into a patient named Madeline," she finished. Her tone changed, cold, sharp. "She came to you 3 weeks ago. You let her die." I couldn't speak. "She's not dead, is she?" Ava asked. "No," I said quietly. "She's not. You need to listen to me, doctor." Her voice trembled now. "She isn't my sister anymore. She looks like her, sounds like her, but something came back wrong. She talks in her sleep, says things she never knew. She knew about our mother's death, but she was 6 months old when it happened. She told me what she saw in the dark, and she wasn't talking about a dream. She said someone followed her back. I asked Ava if she could come in. She said she couldn't. They'll find me if I do, she whispered. They're tracking her. Not because she's dangerous, because they're afraid of what she remembers. Then she hung up. I sat there for minutes, listening to the deadline, staring at her photo, the same eyes, 2 lives, one buried, one watched. I needed answers, and I knew where to find them. I went to the basement level. The lights flickered. The elevator stopped 1 floor short. Typical in this place. I took the stairs down. The walls were damp. Smelled of old metal and something burnt. The kind of scent you can't wash off your clothes. I reached the end of the corridor. There was no sign, no room number, just a thick steel door with a keycard lock and a slot for a palm scan, and someone had left it ajar. I pushed it open. Cold air hit me like a slap. The hum of machines I didn't recognize. Low, rhythmic breathing. And then I saw her. Madeline. Strapped to a chair, eyes open, mouth stitched with silence. She looked at me and smiled. "Doctor," she said again. But this time, she wasn't looking at me. She was looking through me. They said she'd been cremated. I saw the paperwork myself. Signed by the father. Authorized by the hospital board. Stamped and sealed. So whose ashes did they bury? After what I saw in that basement, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't breathe right. I kept hearing her voice in my head. "Doctor." But not like a cry for help, like a trigger, like a reminder. I tried to file an incident report, tried to report unauthorized patient containment. But the moment I entered her ID number into the system, the form auto-closed. 3 seconds. Just gone. I called internal security. They transferred me, then disconnected. The system wanted her gone, and worse, they wanted me to let her go, again. But I couldn't. I went back to her file. There had to be something, anything, an address, a funeral home, contact with the family, and I found it. A service held 2 weeks ago. Private, no press, no photos. Only one listed attendee, Detective James Rourke. Why would a homicide detective attend a cremation? Unless... I dug through old press bulletins. Typed in Madeline's name. Nothing. Scrubbed. So I tried the father's name instead. And then I saw the headline. Body of teen mistakenly identified in fire debris. Father refuses DNA testing. A house fire. Unidentifiable remains. Only clue? A bracelet belonging to Madeline Carter found near the scene. The father said, "That's her." I know it, but no dental, no DNA, no autopsy, just ash. So I went to the house. I shouldn't have, but I needed proof. It had been gutted, charred beams, half a wall left standing. Ashes settled like fog across the ground. The air still smelled of burnt plastic and something else, like copper and singed hair. And in the center, buried under soot and broken tile, was something out of place. A photo frame. Unburnt. Pristine. It was the two of them, Madeline and Ava, smiling. Same eyes, same everything. But behind them, barely visible through the reflection in the glass, a third figure, shadowed, indistinct, watching. I took the photo, and as I stood, a voice behind me said, "You shouldn't be here." I turned. Detective Rourke, trench coat, clipboard, holstered badge, and eyes that didn't blink. "What are you looking for, Doctor? Grant?" he asked calmly. "You found her. Isn't that enough?" My throat tightened. "What is she?" I whispered. He didn't answer, just walked toward me, slowly, measured. "You know what burns hotter than bone?" he asked. I didn't respond. "Memory." He stopped a few inches from me. "People think fire destroys the past. It doesn't. It preserves it. In silence. Stop digging, Doctor. This is bigger than you." I backed away, photo still in hand. Rourke didn't follow. He just lit a cigarette and whispered into the flame. "She wasn't the first. She won't be the last." That night I found ashes in my office, in a perfect circle on my desk, and written in the middle with something red. "Doctor. Come back down." I burned everything that reminded me of her. Photos, charts, notes. Every trace of Madeline Rose Carter vanished in flames. The fire was cathartic, a scorching purge of guilt, denial, and fear. But as the smoke cleared, I realized something brutal. She's still out there. I watched myself burn. The man I used to be. The doctor who signed a death certificate without a doubt. But she's still alive. And she remembers. Not just her past, but what I did, what I let happen. I tried to find her in the ashes of that house, tried to silence her voice in the sterile halls of the hospital. But her eyes haunt me. That look, the one that cuts through pretense, that sees the truth I tried to bury. They wanted me to let her go, to accept her death, to move on. But moving on means forgetting, and forgetting means betrayal. So I fight for her, for the girl who shouldn't exist, but also for myself, because I don't know if I can live with the man I am without her. I'm done hiding, done running. I'll find the truth, even if it burns me alive. Because some ghosts aren't meant to rest, and some mistakes aren't meant to be forgiven. Thank you for following this journey. If you think you've heard the whole story, think again, because the ashes never lie.